It can be helpful at the beginning of any meditation period to take a moment to connect with the purpose that brings you to practice. For walking meditation, one of the core purposes in this practice is the same as it is with other forms of meditation, which is a training of our minds to develop the capacity for becoming more tranquil or still, more peaceful, focused. The Pali word for this quality is samatha. And also the ability of our minds to develop the capacity for seeing clearly the way things are. For insight is another word that's used here. And the Pali word is vipassana. It's fair to say that cultivating these capacities in the mind, the capacity to become unified and peaceful, not pushed and pulled and trying to get what we want or push away what we don't want, trying to be or become some sort of enduring somebody, that delusion that it's possible to have a permanent self like a statue. We're cultivating that capacity, those two capacities together every time we practice any part of the Eightfold Path. But coming here today for the practice of walking meditation, just to touch in with that understanding that there's a deep purpose here in this practice, nothing less than the entire radical psychological transformation of how our minds work, how we're inclined to operate in the absence of some effort. So this is a part of that effort. We come to practice walking meditation. There are also practical advantages to walking meditation. It's good for bodies to move around, and especially when we're practicing extended meditation and sitting a lot. From time to time we need to move, to walk. So before we begin the instruction for practicing walking meditation, I suggest that you pause the tape for a moment and find a track where you can walk in one direction for 10, 15, 20 paces while still being able to hear the instructions. So if everyone would just put the pause on and go ahead and do that. So once that you've found that track where you're going to be able to walk in one direction without bumping into furniture, take a moment to notice where the track begins and where it ends. Find a landmark if there isn't one. This is especially important when practicing outdoors, where there can be long tracks where there might not be a cue that it's time to turn around, that you've gone the 10 to 20 paces, unless you consciously pick something. So something that when you arrive at that point, you know it's time to turn and walk back in the other direction, so that you don't have to be figuring that out every time you walk the path. So that becomes automatic, and that leaves our minds free to focus on the walking meditation practice. So just standing at the beginning, what you think of as the beginning of the path, you're facing the direction you can take those 10 to 20 steps in. And as you're standing, take a moment to go ahead and let your eyes close if that's comfortable. We will be opening them for the walking part of the meditation. But here at the beginning, similarly to when we practice sitting meditation, we take a moment to embody our experience, to get a sense of being a person who's standing. There's nothing woo-woo about this. We're already doing it, but just tuning into that. The feet meeting the floor, that pressure, and how the support of the floor can extend all the way up the body with help from the large muscles and the skeleton, and bringing an uprightness all the way to from the toes to the top of the head, and also a relaxation around that support. And then, with that awareness of the embodiment of that you're standing there, a person in a body, just shift your weight slightly at first to one side or the other, and then see about shifting a little more weight. As long as your balance is well supported, you can see how much weight you can pour from one side of the body to the other just by shifting which foot is doing the supporting. And then shift back and just pour all the weight into the other foot, and be aware of the body's experience, and try to really keep the focus on that physical phenomena of what's occurring there. You don't need to put words on it, explain it, but just to be tuned in. And you can shift back and forth a bit if you like. Okay. A big part of walking meditation is just this. We're shifting the weight from one foot to the other. The only difference is when we walk, we also lift and move and place the foot ahead of us while shifting the weight. So to make that transition, go ahead and open your eyes. And for walking meditation, we keep our eyes focused down on the ground, just a little bit ahead, so we don't run into anything. And so we're not distracted by all the stuff that our eyes could get involved with if we were practicing a different kind of meditation. But right now we're practicing walking, this form of walking meditation. So we want our eyes to be focused down on the path, just in front. And then take a moment to tune in to your arms. You're just aware of how they are, and make a decision about how it seems it would work best for you to place your arms during the walking meditation. Some people like to hold their hands together in front of the body and support the arms in that way. Some people, it works better to hold the hands behind the body together and support the arms in that way. For others, letting the hands just drop to the sides and letting that be how the arms are, following the hands. Just see what seems good to you for now. Of course, if you need to change, that's fine. It just will help if you can find a posture for the arms and hands where they can stay, so the focus can be for this practice of walking meditation. We're going to bring our focus into our feet and the lower parts of the legs, and specifically into the felt experience that occurs in that area of the body as we walk. So to begin to notice this, let's go ahead and take some steps. Shifting the weight to one foot or the other. You want to lift the foot that's not bearing as much weight. Move it forward and place it a comfortable length in front. And then from there, we will shift the weight into that front foot, lifting the back foot, moving it and placing it in front. So do that a few times, and then we'll check back. Just lifting, moving, placing. Bringing the attention to the experience in the feet and legs. And then if you would return to standing for a moment for a little bit more instruction. We can continue like this on the path, lifting, moving, placing, until we reach the time when it's time to turn around. And in the turning around, to keep the focus smooth and not choppy, pay attention to the same thing in the turning around that you're paying attention to in the walking. It's just taking steps. To turn, we lift, move, and place a step that brings us in the direction of a turn. And then we do that again and again, as many times as suits us, until we're turned around facing the other way. But keeping that focus on the experience in the feet and the lower legs. The other thing that it's helpful to pay some attention to is the pace of the walking. Remembering back to our purpose in the walking meditation practice, to train our minds to become more and more focused, unified, tranquil, and in that to become more able to see clearly, to understand the way things are. So when we're thinking about our pace, we're going to need to discern what pace best supports our minds at this time in staying focused on that experience with the feet and the lower legs. So this is something to practice with and to learn about ourselves. It's something that can vary. Sometimes we may be coming with an energy that needs a bit more movement, and so instead of the slower kind of lift, move, and place, we might want to help ourselves stay focused on the experience of walking by using a more of a step, 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 step kind of a pace. most people find that if we go too slowly, we get off balance and get wobbly, and that's not helpful for staying focused on a smooth following of the experience of walking in the lower legs and feet. So, from standing, from what you know now, it's good to go ahead and decide at the beginning of the practice what kind of pace you're going to be working with, to not be fooling around with that a lot once you've begun. So go ahead and decide, I think I'm going to go a little faster than I was, or maybe a little slower, and that's what I'm going to try for the next 10 minutes. We'll have 10 minutes of just walking without much in the way of instructions now. So once you've made that decision, then we'll be walking back and forth, bringing our attention to the experience at the bottom of the feet and the lower legs, being careful not to slip over into visualizing the steps. Some people are more visually inclined, and it can be kind of tempting to begin to see steps rather than have that kinesthetic grounding in the experience, that felt phenomena of what's going on. So just watch out for that, and also watching out for not getting the words that may help to stay grounded in the experience of walking, not letting those words become the meditation practice. So it's not going to be a practice of saying lift, move, place, lift, move, place. Those words are just very faint whispers in the background of our minds. They're not our focus. So with those instructions, we'll begin to practice some more walking meditation. We'll have about, when it's time to return to standing, And returning to the standing posture, you may just take a moment to notice the difference between walking and standing. The Buddha taught the importance of this kind of training for the mind in all postures, sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. The technique we've been working with in this meditation is just one, to bring the focus to the lower legs and the feet. It gives us a way to help the mind stay in one place instead of jumping around, to have that focus. And there are a lot of benefits to that grounding in the body. It provides a good basis for a lot of other practice. But just like the sitting posture is one that we can practice a lot of different ways when we're in that posture, so is true for walking meditation. We can focus on the breath while we're walking. We can cultivate a mind and heart of goodwill, of metta during walking practice. We can do many different kinds of wisdom, contemplations that are taught in the early discourses while we're walking, while we're sitting, while we're standing, while we are lying down. So, while there's a lot of value to beginning with this kind of technique and to using this kind of way of focusing and training the mind that we've been working with today, well, there's a lot of value there. And into staying with one approach long enough to begin to get a sense of the benefits of it before switching to another, I recommend that. It's also valuable to keep in mind that this one technique, this one approach, this one form of practice exists within a context of a depth and richness that is the Eightfold Path, and that takes us all the way from minds that are very confused about how to become happier to minds that are completely free of any whisper of a tendency to be motivated by greed or hatred or delusion. Minds that are free. So with gratitude to the Buddha for the teachings and to those who have passed them along over all these years, including those of us who are practicing together today.